Hi, I'm Diane Lucas, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. One of her advocacy, guiding high potential senior leaders to navigate the hidden job market and secure their dream role, no other than Miss Jane Ferré. Welcome, Miss Jane, on Book 101 Review. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Yeah, so thank you so much, Daniel, for having me on today and for inviting me to talk with you. So, yeah, as Daniel said, I help senior leaders to navigate the hidden job market to find the role of their dreams, really. And they come to me for a variety of reasons, mainly through redundancy or getting laid off from their current role, or they just realize that where they are right now in the position, the organization, they've kind of gone as far as they can go and they're just looking for something else. Many of them have not looked for a job for, sort of 15, 20 years. And, since they last looked for a job, a lot of things have changed. So they just need some guiding help to just help them to work their way through it because they just need a guiding hand. And that's where I come in.
A guiding hands for sure, and thank you for doing that, Miss Jane. Thank you. And today let's talk about careers. So tell us, Miss Jane, if you had to describe your career path not as a ladder, but as a shape or a metaphor, what would it be and why?
I would say it's a roller coaster. so, so I think for me in particular, it's like, imagine those you've gone to, I don't know, like Busch Gardens or like Universal, and you've gone up slowly, slowly, slowly. When you're kind of sitting in the little car and it's like and it's you're going quite slowly and steadily, and you get to the top and you look around and you think, oh, this is lovely, I can see like far and wide, and then suddenly something just like snaps and it's like you're in free fall and you're like on the way down, and it's kind of exhilarating but scary, and you're screaming at the same time, and then you hit the bottom,
Yes.
you might do a 360 turn, and then you kind of go on to either it sort of propels you through momentum to just keep going throughout the rest of the ride, or you then sort of stop and you reach another hill, and then you start to slowly climb the hill, and then you're off again. And that's what my career feels like to me. I think it's a roller coaster.
A roller coaster indeed. So, what was the defining fork in the road moment in your career? A decision that, looking back, fundamentally altered your trajectory.
I think for me there was almost two, and they came in very quick succession. And so I'd worked. Um, I'd kind of gone through that. Imagine that roller coaster, the beginning of the roller coaster. I'd had a slow and steady climb. I'd worked for British Airways for almost 20 years
Mm-hmm.
here in London, and I had got to a point where I was kind of at the top, and I was kind of looking around, going, "Oh, this is nice." And I had the role of my dreams, and I'd worked hard, I was well thought of, and then suddenly there was a reorganization and my role became redundant. So it's like, oh, now this is where we're heading down the other side of it. Um, but I also looked around and I thought, I'm kind of one of those people. I've been here long enough now that I'm starting to become one of those people that we see in the business who are like, oh, here we go again. We've tried this before, it didn't work, and I could feel myself becoming that person, and I didn't want to be that person. So I thought, you know what? Now is the time for me to leave. And at the time, I was in my late 40s, and I just thought that if I don't leave now, then I'm never going to leave. And this was about 2017, 2018. So just before COVID. But what happened is I got headhunted really quickly. So I left in the end of March, and by the beginning of May, I had a role as head of training at a restaurant chain in the UK. So quite an up and coming restaurant chain that did sort of fast food, but healthy fast food.
Mm-hmm.
And I took a job as their first head of training there. And after 8 months, that role became redundant, mainly due to there was an injection of venture capital money, and they sort of look at all the costs and go, get rid of some head office costs, and nobody gets rid of finance, right? Everybody gets rid of
Mm-hmm.
HR and training. So,
Yes.
so here I am, my second redundancy in less than 12 months. And it was almost like at that point that I thought, I have been thinking about setting up my own business. So when I left British Airways, I thought about setting up my own business. And the thing that held me back that time was I've only ever really had BA as my proper job career. So I thought I need to go and get some other experience. And I just thought after that second redundancy, it was 3 weeks before Christmas. It was just not the best time of year. And I just thought I'm gonna give this business thing a go. I'm just gonna give it a whirl. What's the worst that
Yes.
can happen? The worst that can happen is it doesn't work, and I'll just go and get a job. So that's what I did, and it's been a huge learning curve for me. It's it's almost a vertical learning curve, so it's kind of back on that roller coaster, but I'm not really. Sometimes I'm doing that steady climb at the top, and then other times you're just on this kind of complete whirlwind, getting swept up and pushed along by a momentum. And there's the highest of the highs and there's the lowest of the lows. But I wouldn't change it for the world.
Miss Jane, beyond skills and experience, what are the core character traits or values that you believe has been most critical to your success?
I think for me, it's that um, being open to learning. So it's that knowing it. How would you almost say this? It's like you have to remember to be the student a lot of the
Mm.
time. So there was back in 2015, I took a 6 week sabbatical from my job, and I went to study patisserie at the Cordon Bleu in Paris. So complete change of tack. Just and I'd gone from being like the expert in my field to being in a classroom. I was like one of the oldest people there. I wasn't, amongst, all the 20-something-year-olds who are all starting out in life. But it was actually, I'm now a student again because I don't know any of this and I've come here to learn. And it's like throwing yourself into that arena and being comfortable with not knowing the answers, being comfortable with having to ask the questions and understanding that there's people in this room, in your room, whatever room you're in, who know more about a certain thing than you. And actually, if you ask them questions, people love to share their knowledge and they love to share their expertise. And I think if you just open yourself up to not knowing something, then people will share everything that they know and more. And I think that's one of the things that I brought back into my corporate life was actually ask the questions, be curious, because there may be a way of doing things, but it may not be the best way. And there's always a different way to do something. And, you know, just because you've done something in a certain way doesn't mean that's the best way to move forward. So that's I think is really important to me. And that's how we keep learning. And setting up my business, I suddenly realized how much I didn't know versus
Hmm.
how much I did. Because suddenly, you go from working in a big corporate where, you've got a problem with your computer, you call IT. Um, there's a problem with your payroll, you call payroll, and then suddenly you're doing everything.
Everything. At least you learn from it. Miss Jane, you're learning. And thank you for
Absolutely.
sharing your business to the world. Many people struggle with imposter syndrome. Can you share a time you faced it deeply and what did you do or what you did to move through it?
Gosh, I think when I when I did set up my business, I always remember signing my first client, and I was delighted and terrified in equal measure. And I think suddenly I had that kind of imposter syndrome, because it's fine when you're going out there and doing a lot of marketing. So I still do actually a lot of marketing on LinkedIn, and a lot of people come to me through recommendation, through LinkedIn, through my network. And this particular person I used to actually work with, and suddenly I'm like, oh my God, this person has trusted me with their future almost. They've invested their money in my services, and I've got to deliver now. And I felt I felt an enormous amount of responsibility, and I was thinking, like, can I do it? She doesn't know that she's my first client. And she still doesn't know that she was my first client. um, but it's always like, she believes in me. So she believes in me, and she's willing to give me her money to help her. Then why shouldn't I believe in myself? And I think that's what I think a lot with a lot of my clients. I do some work with other coaching companies as an associate, and there was one coaching company, and we worked with a scientific publishing company. And all of the clients that when I sort of read their bios of the people I was coaching, I was completely in awe, because I was like, they're all doctor this, they've got, two, or at least two PhDs, they are astronomy, they are, looking into research into really serious things, like whether it's medical research, or astronomical research, or something scientific. They had a whole load of publications. That was another time that I really felt that kind of like, oh my God, what am I doing here? And when I started coaching them, I realized that actually it doesn't matter that they've got two PhDs, because the reason that they're being coached is because there's a lot of skills that they haven't got. So particularly around their people, particularly around managing their teams. And actually, that's what I have got. And actually, it was quite interesting, because one of them said to me, I'm completely in awe of you because you do all of this. And I said, I'm completely in awe of you because you kind of cure cancer. You know what I mean? It's like, it's crazy, crazy good.
Crazy good indeed. Miss Jane, what's a piece of conventional career advice you think is outdated or even harmful, and what you replace it with?
Gosh. Oh, that's a good question. I think that careers are changing now. So how I've got a bit of echo on my earphones. I'm not sure if you can hear that. Um, I think that people now have got more access to other people. I think it's just different from how it was in my day.
Hmm.
Um, so in my day, it's almost like, I remember getting my first role in BA, and I applied to an advert in a newspaper and sent off my CV in the post. Whereas nowadays, if you want to have a conversation with a hiring manager, particularly if you're on LinkedIn, you can go and do your research, and you can find an email address for somebody. You can contact somebody on LinkedIn, through Instagram, through Facebook, and just say, can I just have a conversation with you about something? Can you, is there anybody who? And I think that is it. It's not that the way I did it was is no longer appropriate. It's just that it's no one does it like that anymore. Actually, there's different ways of doing it, and I think for careers, if you're at the beginning of your career, you have to think, how do you stand out from the crowd? I mentor final year undergraduates at Oxford Brookes University, and I see their CVs, and they're all the same, and they say the same thing, and it's just like, you're not, and I'm going to be a bit controversial. You're not special because you have a degree, because I'm sitting here in university, and the 200 people in your class have got a degree. Okay, so that doesn't make you special. What is it? Let me help you to figure out what it is that makes you different from the person sitting next to you. And it's almost thinking about that, so I think particularly in the UK, young people have been fed this lie. I think I would call it a lie that if they go to university, then they'll get a better job. And I think there are certain jobs where you just have to go to university. If you want to be a doctor, an engineer, an architect, those kind of things, you have to go. But it's not the only route, and it's not the route that's suitable for everybody. So there's, think about what it is that makes you different. Think about how can you just go out of the track. So think about how can, don't just put your application in online. Think about who's the hiring manager. How can I get a meeting with them? Can I have a phone call? Can I ask them what they're looking for? How can you just make yourself a bit more memorable? And I think that would just helps you stand out from the crowd.
Interesting, Miss Jane. On navigating challenges and transitions, how do you strategically differentiate between a bad day and a sign that it's truly time to move on from a role or a company?
I think deep down. I, I think
Yes.
I think people really know the answer to that. I think when it's kind of happening repeatedly, or if you're trauma bonding with somebody in the office over the same person or a similar situation, I think that is almost a sign that it's the environment. It's not necessarily you. But I think deep down, we all know the answer deep down, and that's the thing about coaching is that pure coaching is not me telling you the answer. Pure coaching is me asking you the questions and just giving you the space to think and the space to say things out loud that you haven't had the courage or the opportunity to say to somebody who's got no skin in the game and is not going to judge you at all. And I think sometimes that's where coaching can really come into its own and just really help people to kind of open their eyes and go, yeah, I really, and a lot of my final question is, so what are you going to do now with that information? And it's always followed by a deep breath and yeah, I know what I've got to do.
So, Miss Jane, as an entrepreneur, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
So my short term goals is I have to do some of those drudgy things that we always have to do. So I need to update my website. So that is on my list. I have an ebook that I have just today finished writing, and I need to take a step away from it before I do some proofreading, make sure it's all good. And that's all about creating objectives. So that is on there, and then I think I'm now focusing on next year. So we're recording this in October. I'm starting to think about what 2026 is going to look like already. And just thinking about the lifestyle. I think that's the great thing about being an entrepreneur running your own business is it's almost you design your life and then the business fits into that. So it's just, I'm just thinking about what trips do I want to take in 2026? Where do I want to be? How do I want to work? You know, I'm doing running programs. So am I going to put myself in for that 10K in March or not?
Good luck to your goals, Miss Jane, and looking forward for more success. And what will be a piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you?
Oh gosh, just go with the flow. I think there's something about not overthinking and just relaxing a little bit and getting clear on where you want to be. So when I started my business, one of the things that I thought about a lot, and I worked with a coach actually to help me figure this out, was what do I want my day to be like? So it's that thing about design your life and then design your business around it. So think about what's your perfect day. So we're recording this at 11 o'clock at night for me, which is fine because I'm a night owl, right? So I'll be going to bed after this, but it's like I don't my husband gets up at 6:30 and goes running, and then he starts his workday at 10 a.m. as do his colleagues. I'm a late person, so I'll get up and I'll go for a run and I'll start about 11. And I like to spend time with friends. I'm part of a drama group, so we're rehearsing for a show right now. So it's like I want to do all these things first, and then the work can go on top of that. So I think about what are the best days for me to meet with my clients. I don't have any more than 3 client calls a day, because that's people don't get the best Jane if I'm having more than 3 client calls a day. So it's just thinking about, just relax and think about, if you're going to set up a business, the thing about having a business and not a job is that you can have it how you want. So what is it that you want? What do you want your life to be? And then think about, right, so how does the business then fit into that?
Thank you for that advice, Miss Jane. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Oh, so I have, yes, this is the book that has, I say it's changed my life. It's called Getting Things Done: The Art of Stress-Free Productivity by David Allen. And I was I was actually coaching somebody. So when I worked at British Airways, I got my coaching qualification there, and I was an internal coach. So I would coach people within the business. And I was having a conversation with a lady who was my client. And one of the things she talked about was, she was talking about her overwhelm and the work and how hard it was. And she said, my son has got this book in his bedroom, and I keep looking at it, and I've started reading it, and it's just brilliant. And it was actually this book, Getting Things Done. And I had never heard of it, never heard of this concept. I'd never heard of this guy. And as soon as our session was finished, I went back to my desk and I Googled it. And I was like, oh my God, this just sounds exactly like what I need. And I just, that I literally ordered it there and then. It was a Friday, our meeting. It was on my doorstep the next day, and I devoured it. And I just literally took myself through this process. And that must have been in, gosh, about 2012, about that time. So it's almost like, so I talked about going to the Cordon Bleu, for example. So spending 6 weeks at the Cordon Bleu, that happened because of this book. Because I was able, I mean, I'd started a new job in the January. In the June, I was in Paris for 6 weeks. So this book helped me to get to Paris, do all the applications, save up enough money, make sure that my team were okay during the 6 weeks that I wasn't there. And even now, setting up, being in the job market when I was after my first redundancy, setting up my business. Even just now, it's like, if people want things done, they know that I will get them done because I follow this methodology. And it's has completely changed my life.
Indeed. And Miss Jane, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well, geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast Law 101 and Mental Health 101 Love Letters in fourth season, as well as my movie 101 review, music 101, and science 101 and sex 101 in second season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So
I will be
Miss
checking out the food 101 for sure.
Thank you. And now I'm inviting you to be part on Food 101. Miss Jane, if you could give one piece of advice to your 25-year-old self about navigating a career, what would it be?
Stop trying to impress people would be my advice. I think that's something that I think when I see a lot of the young people on, if I'm on Instagram or TikTok and I'm scrolling, I just think that I was bending over backwards to try and impress people, that I was the right person, and that, and I would work super extra hard. And it's like, I didn't really need to work that hard. I don't think, now looking back at it, I could have been much more productive. So ironic that this is the book that I'm choosing. I wish I discovered that book earlier, to just be more focused while I was at work, so that I could also be focused while I was outside of work as well.
Miss Jane Ferré, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So
Thank you.
can you please invite our listeners to support your business, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Yeah, so well, I always invite people to come and follow me on LinkedIn. So my name, Jane Ferré, Ferre. Please do come and follow me on there. I'm doing lots of live broadcasts right now, and I share insights about careers, leadership. So connect with me on there and check out my website, janeferre.com.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Jane Ferré because if you support her, for sure, more and more empowering careers to come. So, Miss Jane, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel.
Modicon people, see you soon.